Good morning. I'm going to start with a disclaimer. Okay, why am I here? To highlight people important to me, to be braver in public speaking, and also highlight other people. And I wanted to introduce you guys to Bailey and Marshall, and wanted to ask you if you could introduce yourself to everyone.
Hey everyone, my name is Bailey Marshall. I am the founder and principal consultant of the Security Rex. So I do cybersecurity education and consulting. Predominantly, my skill sets are in ethical hacking and offensive security, pretty much those proactive security things. Um, but I'm also the co-founder of Future Proof Security, and so we're teaching, parents how to keep their children online and how to communicate appropriately to them about cybersecurity. So thanks. I'm happy to be here.
That's so cool. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, tell me about yourself here. Yeah, well, let's use two questions. What makes you smile? What brings you joy? Who is Bailey?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. Okay, to give a little background about myself, I really started getting into cybersecurity when I was post college, but I've always had a very profound interest in computers. I used to do little script kiddie hacking things when I was younger. I played Neopets a lot, and so I always joke that I socially engineered my friends into giving me their Neopets passwords. So I could steal all their virtual items and stuff, and so that's kind of how I got my hacking, interest. And I also, in the early days of the 2000s, 1990s, everybody had access to do everything on the internet. And so learning how to HTML and CSS code got me, really into more of the development side. But I never really wanted to pursue cybersecurity. I didn't know it was something that I could. So I went to college and I did psychology because I wanted to be a doctor. And to be honest, I really didn't know what I wanted to do growing up. I just kind of picked something that would make me some money and sounded kind of interesting. But then I went into the US military because I had a scholarship for college through them. And so I figured that I would, kind of figure out what I wanted to do there. And they told me that I was going to be IT, so like network building and things like that. And I did not like that at all. I really did not enjoy doing like the networking side of stuff, but I was given the opportunity to do Security Plus. And so I had a voucher and I was like, well, I'm going to get this certification because I'm just like that. I'm just kind of gung ho that way. And so I studied really, really hard and took the exam and passed it. And then I was like, whoa, like I really love cybersecurity. Like it's really interesting. And then it kind of all started to make sense to me going back to all of those things that I used to do when I was a kid. And so that really just kind of set me up for where I am now. I have had, multiple roles outside of the military and right now trying to grow the security recs and what it is. I am trying to get into our local schools and teach high schoolers and junior high schoolers about cybersecurity and figuring out how to support small businesses and small communities and consult for them. um, I'm a pen tester. I've been on red teams before. I do a lot of OSINT investigation as well. So, like I said, all of that proactive security stuff's right up my lane. And as far as what makes me smile and kind of makes me me, really it's twofold. When I'm talking about job related stuff, it's like just helping seeing someone that didn't understand how vulnerable they were or how things worked and seeing it click in their mind, whether that's through the education or the consulting side, like that is awesome because I feel like I'm directly impacting someone's journey and someone's business. So that's really why I do what I do because I like helping people. And that might sound cliche or it might sound corny because, a lot of people, they want to get into cybersecurity because there's money to be made. And yes, I do want to make a living, but really what drives me and what makes me happy about my job and my career is really getting to impact people at like a really root level where I'm seeing the benefits of the work that we've done collectively for their business or for their personal lives. But outside of that, as far as personally, I really love my kids and I really love being outdoors with them. And so, that really is a huge thing that prompted me to, want to build future proof security to what it is with my co founder, Jennifer Funk, because I really do have a passion for kids and for my kids. And so I wanted to provide, something out there that was still related to what I was doing in the career field, but related to something that I was a little bit more passionate about in my personal life. Um, so maybe all of that to say that those are all the things that kind of make me who I am. So it's been a really interesting journey, and I think that there's a lot more that is on the trajectory for the future. But right now, I'm kind of happy and content with where things are, and just to kind of take it easy because building a business and building a brand is very challenging. And so in order to take a step back and reap what you've sown a little bit is nice just to take a breath.
I'm blown away here, and thank you. An amazing introduction. I think you answered that question already, but what is your specialty in cybersecurity and how can others gain expertise in your specialty?
Yeah. So my specialty is offensive security and kind of that proactive cybersecurity. So really protecting yourself before something happens. And so how can people get into this? My journey is very unconventional. A lot of people will say, go get your OSCP, go get this certification. And all of those are really great to have. And I won't say that it's not beneficial to have certifications like that, but really, I just kind of stepped my way into it because of the fact that I had a drive for it and I was very interested. And so I started pursuing opportunities that would allow me to do those things and to kind of practice and own my craft, even if it was, non paid opportunities or things that I was just doing on the side. A lot of people will say, get on try hack me, get on hack the box and all those things. Those are great, but really what impacted me the most was kind of the professional steps that I took. And so taking you know, uh, a volunteer opportunity or doing something that I wasn't necessarily paid for. And maintaining a full time job with that is challenging, but it's doable. And I think that really got me not only the experience that I needed, but also the network that I needed to pursue some of the more paid opportunities. I still don't have my OSCP, and maybe I'll go get it one day, but right now I just don't want to study for another certification. And so a lot of people feel like maybe there's a bit of gatekeeping in ethical hacking and with offensive security because there's so many doorways that you have to break into. They're not unlocked. Like you have to open the locks and try to get through them with all of these different checks off the block. And so that being said, really look into opportunities that give you a professional edge to do those things. And I always joke that I bullied my way into offensive security because I, in the military, had a defensive role when I was leaving. And so when I was applying for civilian jobs, I I was resonating with ones that were like incident response and defensive cyber operations. And so it was really challenging for me because I had had the experience of doing, red team engagements and getting to do pen tests and things like that in the military. And so that's what I wanted to do outside. But I felt like I was trapped in a box. And so I took the opportunities that came. I went and decided that I was going to be an IR consultant because not only is it good to get a paying job, but I wanted to learn the other side of things too and be more well rounded and more holistic. And so that just led me to networking with the right people and getting a job as a pen tester and getting some of the opportunities to do some of the investigations and, really building my brand online. So that's how I made my way. And for everybody that says, there's a set way to do, you have to go do this and then do this to get into offensive security, there's not. There's a million ways that you can do it. And I think I'm one of the advocates that says, you don't have to have certifications to do it. They're great, they're nice, and they are definitely helpful, but they're not everything.
Yeah, actually, I agree with that because, like, I personally only have Security Plus. I think you have it too. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay. So, what, in your opinion, what qualities do you believe all highly successful cybersecurity professionals share?
Well, you definitely want to have some sort of technical expertise. So pick a niche that you're interested in, defensive, offensive, I think that's kind of a given. So to not, go into that too much, I think a lot of the soft skills that we talk about, communication, detail oriented, things like that, those are really important because most of the time when you're not doing the technical stuff, you are writing reports and building a communication path for you to tell clients, hey, this is, if you're a SOC analyst, you're responding and saying this is what's going on. If you're incident response, you're telling people how to you know very carefully and meticulously recover from incidents that they might have. If you're offensive security, it's very much the same thing. So being detail oriented, because you need to be able to see the whole picture, but you also need to be able to look at the more granular details and know how to verbalize those things, because you can see it from a technical perspective, but you need to know how to communicate those things to non-technical professionals. So that goes into the communication as well. Um, and then, honestly, one of the things that we kind of get caught up in cybersecurity that I don't think a lot of people talk about is you have to advocate for your time and take care of yourself too. A lot of times in technology, I think that we get so, and it's a culture, it is a personality. There's so many different reasons why we do this as technical professionals, but I do it, myself included. I say yes to everything because I want to help everyone and do everything. And I want to be the technical, subject matter expert that everybody goes to. But finding balance in that and taking time for yourself to say, no, I can't do that because maybe I've got another project that I need to focus full time on. Or maybe it's just, hey, I've got to cut off, work right now because I have to, step away from the computer. Those are things that are really important as cybersecurity professionals. I think we can all agree that having the technical expertise is like the big one, but we don't need to rehash that. Everybody knows that, but everybody's got their own opinions about what type of personality and what kind of person makes a successful cybersecurity professional.
Yeah, but I do agree with the communication part because I think it's the most important skill for at least a pen tester, like, but all of the cybersecurity people to explain the very technical things in a way that the uh, yeah, executive staff can understand because they are like the ones with decisions with the money, but we have to convey it in a way so they like feel, yeah, that is worth pursuing, you know. So it's
Right.
at the, yeah, it's important. So okay, you are a co-founder of Future Proof Security. Can you share your experiences so far? Yeah.
Yeah, this one's a little bit different because I think everybody wants to learn cybersecurity because it's the cool, flashy thing, and especially with, offensive security, everybody wants to be a hacker. Um, so that's really easy to communicate to like social media. What I find with Future Proof is that we either have little engagement or little response to posts that are meaningful and are impactful, but on social media either the algorithm doesn't push things wide or people just aren't engaging with that kind of content. But yet we still have so many people behind the scenes come and tell Jen and I, hey, we love what you're doing and keep doing this, because it's incredibly important. And so it's a really weird contrast for what you see publicly versus what you see privately. There's a lot of really great support for future-proof security, and trying to get the message out to parents about how to interact and engage with their children about technology. Um, but it's funny because I was thinking about this the other day. Is engagement truly down because people are not interested, which I don't think is the case, or does social media tend to stifle some of the some of the content, because sometimes it is about reducing social media use and doing certain things on social media. So I found that really interesting, and I've seen that across other people's posts as well. uh, it's just funny. So we've had a lot of really good headway with it, but everything that we have done positively has really been behind the scenes and with engagement with people that's not public. So I'm very excited and happy with where Future Proof is. Um, it's just, trying to figure out how to communicate things that this, how to communicate that this is important to people. Like people need to know how to interact with their kids about technology and about the internet. So it's it's good and bad, and I think that there's a little bit more digging into the technical side of things now that needs to be done, how to engage people on social media and present that these things are threats. I think that we have a lot more people combative and argumentative about protecting your children, because a lot of people, it affects people personally. People start to take when you say you need to do one thing or another and you need to understand this about your personal life and your children, people start to get very touchy about it. And so we've had people say, well, it'll never be my kids. My kids know better. And we were all kids once as well. And so we probably did some things that we shouldn't have. And so, but people tend to neglect the fact that children are smart and they're not easily manipulated into the ways that their parents think. Honestly, it probably makes them want to do whatever they're doing more. So yeah, it's good. I think there's a lot more that we can do with it, and we only just started in October, so things have really been we've just been shaping where we want to direct it and where we want to put our efforts. So
Yeah, a really, really good idea for a business, and I think it's very useful and needed in the space right now, because like everyone wants to protect their kids, and sometimes people don't really know how to go about it because we were born in like a different, totally different age. I would say, I don't know, without the technology wasn't like everywhere. So okay.
yeah.
Uh, you founded the Security Rex in 2022. How does it feel to own your own to own your company, and how do you attract clients? And maybe you can say something there.
Yeah. What it feels like is like I'm an imposter, honestly. I feel like I'm faking it until I make it, sort of thing. Um, and that's not a comparative thing. I don't look at other companies and say, well, they're doing this and I should have more, or I should have more clients or more revenue or something like that. Really, I just don't feel like I belong in a place that is, to call myself an owner of a business and to have clients. And maybe that's with age. Maybe I just don't feel like I'm tenured enough. I've been in the industry for 10 years now. So a decade's a pretty good amount of time to say that I'm kind of knowledgeable about cybersecurity. Um, but it's twofold. There's a group of people that say, we need more young faces in technology and in cybersecurity to attract more, the next generation. But there's also, a side of the industry that says, if you don't have 30 years of experience, 40 years, however many years, you're not, you're not impactful enough. You could not be, a CISO or CIO. And honestly, I really don't want to be a chief of anything. To be perfectly honest, those are jobs for people that are, good at those jobs. And I'm a good consultant. And so I, it just feels like I don't belong, honestly. But I mean, I am proud of the work that I've done, that our community's done, and so that's not to say it's negative. It's not. It's completely positive. I love how it's changed over the past 2.5 years. I was looking at some old graphics the other day that I had drawn up for the original logo for the Security Rex and just seeing how far it has come. Um, and so it's really exciting to see that growth. I've had to change and shift things over the past few years just because it's things that realize that things don't work, and you realize that you might not want to do what you thought that you started out doing. And so it's been kind of a roller coaster of what do I really want to be when I grow up? I have this business, and what do I want it to be? What do I want it to look like? I just reshaped my website to, it used to be strictly for learners, and now I have a business portal as well, to attract businesses for the consulting side of stuff. So you really have to make sure that you are ready to grow and you're ready to accept that some things don't work. But it feels really cool because I get to do what I want to do with it. It's mine and I get to make it my own. And so if I want my website to be pink and I want all of my banners and everything to be pink and I want flowers at my business expo table, like I'm going to do that. And that is so cool. And it's really cool to talk to people about it because I am the subject matter expert, predominantly when I'm going to some of the local business expos. We don't have a lot of cybersecurity in my area. And so getting to talk with small businesses and organizations in my area, there's nobody doing cybersecurity here. So that's very cool. It's quite different when you're talking about in social media where you have a large, expansive reach to everyone. Like you get to work with people internationally and you get to like meet people that are from all over the world. It's completely different than doing that locally and in, your local community. But I really just I really just decided that I was going to do it 2 years ago, and then I was just going to see how it worked out. I didn't really have an agenda or a plan. I just said, you know what, I'm going to start my own LLC. I'm going to start deducting things for tax purposes. I'm going to look into educating others because that's something that I can do in my spare time outside of my full time job. That's something that I can provide for free. And so really it's grown over the past 2.5 years to what it is now because I've stayed flexible and I've just decided that, taking the opportunities that have come in has been the most important thing, and not sticking myself in a box that says I will and I have to do this. And I think that's important for every business. And as far as how I attract clients, I really just am myself. I mean, I post technical information. I try to stay relevant and up to date with things that are going on in the cybersecurity world. I try to prove through social media that I, have the chops to back what I'm saying. I'm not just, a web app pen tester, but I've never done a web app pen test, right? Like I'm not sharing all of these Burp Suite extensions, but I've never used them before. So trying to employ practical knowledge to showcasing my skills. Um, and that is really been the biggest thing that has helped me. And also being someone that's personable. I think in technology we kind of get a bit rigid, and so doing some of like the funny things about IT and posting some of the, like not everybody loves a good meme, but I love a good meme, and just like trying to be relatable and approachable. I think that has been really beneficial in getting conversations going, about, my offerings and what I can bring to the table.
Yeah, I really like those, and it was a breath of fresh air on LinkedIn when I first saw your videos and felt like, okay, that's what I needed to see today. Yeah, it was really great. And I have a question from the chat. Uh, Actually, I'm kind of curious myself. Do you have any tips for someone that is building their own brand, like maybe the mistakes you would have avoided? And there is like a comment. It's a very good website brand content you have on your website. Congrats.
Thank you. Oh, I love that question. And, some people will say, I personally, I don't like people that push like you have to have a personal brand, because it works for some people, but it doesn't work for everybody. There are also ways that you can put yourself out there that you don't have to have your face out there, or you don't have to be on camera, or you don't have to be vocal. You can write blogs and articles and show your work on, if you're technical, on GitHub and things like that. There are a lot of ways to do those things. But for those that are interested in doing like video and doing, audio and things like, we're doing now, really just honestly, the best thing I can say is bringing your own personality and not feeling like you have to fit into a, you know, what people might think a cybersecurity professional is. I always joke, I'm a hacker, but I don't wear a black hoodie all the time. And I'm like, clearly, I'm not male. And so, like, that's the stereotype of what a hacker is. Like, like cinematically speaking, when you think about a hacker, think of your favorite hacker. There are very few examples of like female hackers, and I have a sunny room, and so I try to capitalize on that because that's just how I feel, and there's nothing unprofessional about that. It's just is. And so, you have to maintain, you can't go out there and just start putting out curse words and doing all of these crazy things online because you think it will, attract an audience or something. You really have to maintain a level of professionalism that people will want to work with. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you have to be rigid and like yourself, for example, you have like a really cool brand and it's just you. And that was the one thing that stuck with me at first because was the Wonder Woman stuff. And I was like, heck yeah, like that's amazing. I love that. And now when people think about that, it's completely you. And so as I've built the security Rex, it's, like the girl with the pink dinosaur sort of thing, like that's uniquely me. And it's just something that I liked. And I really hesitated with, putting pink in my brand, for example. Pink's my favorite color and it's not everybody's, but I was like, oh, well, I could do blue, I could do purple, as all these cybersecurity, all these IT colors and stuff. And I was like, no, that's not what I want. That's not what I like. And it's my brand, it's my company. So I'm just going to do what I want. And people like that because now it's me. Now it's uniquely who I am. And people see that. And it might not be their cup of tea. They might not make their brand pink. They might not, use dinosaur as their logos and stuff, but they see that they associate it with me. And so being uniquely you is important. Being completely transparent. There are a lot of people out there that put things out on social media that aren't necessarily true. One of the big things that I don't like is when people say, oh, well, you can make, six figures from being in cybersecurity and it's super easy. You just go get these certifications and sign up for my $3,000 course. And like, I don't like that. Maybe there's a day where I might, do a pay what you can course, in the future. But I'm not trying to make millions of dollars off of people just trying to learn about things. And so making sure that you're maintaining your ethics too when you're putting yourself out there. Um, because there's a lot of opportunities for when you start growing your brand, there people will reach out to do sponsorships or partnerships, or people want to collaborate with you. People want someone that is, you know, I guess for lack of better words, that is pure for the community. They want to interact with people that are not going to lead their audience into something that, they don't necessarily agree with. So it's, if you're trying to build your personal brand, just be yourself, showcase your skills, and don't take it too seriously either. I did 100 days of posting earlier this year, and it was exhausting. And I tried to do video every single post, but I think I only got to like 90 days, which was video, because I wanted to learn how to speak better on camera. I wanted to learn how to not be so rigid. And so I was like, I just pressed record and I was like, okay, like we're just going to do this. And as I started to see, I go look back at my first 100-day photo or video, and it completely like it's just speak completely different, and my posture and my body language is different because I'm much more comfortable. So doing things repetitively and just staying consistent with it, is probably all of those things to say that's probably the best way to start or continue your brand.
That's a very good answer, and thank you for like the yeah praises. Actually, yeah, I chose the Wonder Woman because it's kind of there's like a story behind it. It's not cosplay like some people thought it's cosplay. No, there is a story behind it. I actually felt I am Wonder Woman after all the things that I've been through. So yeah, but now I'm trying to do Woman in Red because yeah, I'm really into offensive security, and I'm into like the retro vibe of like the pinup girls and like like the,
Mhm.
so that's yeah, that's like more me than like the Wonder Woman. It was just like a phase for me, and yeah, kind of like. Uh, I used to be super shy, so also like going out like with like the pose and like the red cave, it was kind of like breaking out on my own like boundaries and yeah, things that
Yeah,
maybe like pulled me back a bit then from the place where I actually wanted to be. And you
yeah.
mentioned female hackers, so my favorite hacker is the one that was played by Sandra Bullock in The Net. So actually, I really like that movie, and actually the actress as well. So. And you said, oh, I actually, I made notes. So you said like, oh, you were thinking, oh, maybe pink, maybe blue, maybe purple, but yeah, I really want to go with pink. So I really love that you went with pink because that's who you are, and you feel like you have to be true with yourself and yeah, live life, the way do you want to. And also, what I really like about pink is a cute red. It's like cute offensive security. So yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah. Someone told me recently that pink was, it's red. It's got a little bit of, depending on what shade you go, you could put it a little bit more blue because it could be a little purpley, and then you get like the white hat hacker in there too, which is kind of like where I've leaned to, making sure that, I'm not an incident response consultant. I have been one in the past, but that's not my specialty and that's really not my interests. So blue is something that I know and something that I understand, but really not what I am interested in doing, and neither the service that I provide. But I did love how, a little bit of blue in there because I've got a little bit of that in my background, but mostly just the white hat hacker and the red teaming stuff. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I had never thought about it like that, but I thought it was really interesting that people were like putting these creative ideas in their mind together about it. So just thought it was funny. And that's what happens when you build a community is people start to, they start to follow along your journey, and you know, start to people that are online genuinely start to become your peers and your friends, and you can share like funny little things like that between each other. And I think that's one of the other cool things about building a brand is not only that you're building your network for potential jobs in the future, potential clients, but you are building a community around the things that you're interested in. And I know things about people that are more personal now, from just like I have friends that are now some of my closest friends, that I've met online. And that's just all based on the fact that I decided one day to put myself out there, and it just grew from there.
I love that. Like, do you have a hacking philosophy or guiding principle you live by?
Hmm. I don't know. I guess, the first and foremost thing is being ethical, right? And that's kind of, I don't want to go to jail, for example, but I still love doing hacking because it's interesting and it's a puzzle. Um, and funny enough, at our local business expo the other day, I have koozies that go on your cans, and they say, do you need a hacker in your corner? Because that's what I've represented myself as, because that's my skill set. But I specifically use the term hacker to kind of trigger this like, oh my goodness sort of thing in this local community, who all they've heard about as hackers is just bad, and like, oh, we're gonna take all of your money and stuff. So I use that kind of as a trigger word to start the conversation. And you know really, it was trying to explain, and it was a good thing because it did get the conversation going and trying to explain that, hey, a hacker is just another term for someone doing something. You can be, you could be a bad teacher, you could be a good teacher, you can be a bad hacker, you can be a good hacker. All of those things. It's the choices that you make and how you decide to use those skills. And so that was really cool to get to explain to people that you can actually have hackers that do good things and they really didn't know about it. So I guess another, a guiding philosophy or principle that I have, in hacking is also the educational piece too. People don't know if you don't tell them. And so really getting to show people that you can have hackers in your corner is was really cool and resonated with a lot of people. And so I thought that was interesting. It was kind of like a spur of the moment decision to put that on this, swag, but I liked it and I think I'll stick with it.
Yeah, I love that that you yeah. Okay, I have a question that actually is like two questions in one, but like first part, if you don't want to, then you don't have to answer. So, what is your biggest mistake and how did you recover from it? Did you learn anything? And what do you feel was your biggest win in life? That's that second part.
Okay, what was my biggest mistake? And I have no problem answering that question, but I have a lot of mistakes. So I have to think of one big one. And that's not a bad thing. We're all going to make mistakes. I think my biggest mistake probably was letting myself be put in a box when I knew that I wanted to do offensive security and I wanted to do hacking, and accepting that the best that I was going to get was a defensive role. Um, I really kind of let that settle with me when I couldn't land an offensive role at first, and it just happened. There was no, like, I didn't do anything wrong when I was applying for jobs. It was just the time and the place, and the job market stinks, and you take what you can get because you need a job, right? And so after that, I kind of got placed in this box that said, well, you're blue team. You're only blue team, and that's all you're ever going to do. And I accepted that. Let, at the beginning of the security recs, I really just, I put myself out there and said, hey, I'm going to do offensive security online. But in the back of my mind, I'm telling myself, well, you're only going to be able to do it educationally because nobody wants you to actually be a pen tester. No one wants you to actually be a red teamer. And this was not like a self confidence issue. I knew I was good at what I did. It was more so just the market and the culture in cybersecurity. If you are blue, people like to stick you as blue. If you are red, they like to keep you as red. And so I kind of just let myself get wrapped around that mindset. And I probably lost some time that I could have been doing other things that I sat thinking to myself, like, this is as good as it's going to get. This is as far as I'm going to go in cybersecurity. I'm just always going to be blue. Um, and conversely, so what did I learn from that? Don't let yourself be put in a box. If you want to do it, do it. And so I decided that I was going to start a YouTube channel and just show people that I was going to be that. If nobody wanted if nobody wanted to hire me as a pen tester, red teamer, whatever, even though I had those skills in my job description from the military, um, that was fine. I was just going to do it and put it on YouTube because that's what I like to do. I wanted to teach people. I wanted to show that I was capable of doing things. And inevitably, that ended up landing me my first post military pen testing gig, which I still do now. And so that was really, really exciting. Someone said, hey, so and so saw your stuff on YouTube and they, can I get you an interview? And I was like, yeah, that's great. So, and that pivots into like my biggest win. So I have, grown my following this past year and have really, I feel like I've proven myself as an offensive security professional, despite not having an OSCP and despite, all of the things that could be and that should be based on the, criteria of what you think, an ethical hacker, an offensive security professional would be. But I've kind of arrived at, I don't need to prove myself to anybody anymore because I'm confident in my skills and I know what I'm capable of. And I think other people understand that too, even if I do have, like everybody's going to have a naysayer here and there. So that's fine. But when I was approached recently for a blue team opportunity, I fought with it back and forth because I was like, man, this is such a really good opportunity. The organization is great. Like I really am, I would be stupid to turn this down. And then I just decided that I wasn't going to do that because inevitably I felt like I was being put in a box. The organization was great, but I just didn't want to fall back into what I had just talked about. And I had allowed myself to say, I'm going to be in this box that's blue. And that's as good as it's going to get. And so I unfortunately did have to turn down that opportunity because that's just not the direction that I wanted to go in my career. And with the client base that I have currently with the security recs, I didn't want there to be any conflict of, what my skills were and what my services were. So again, doing proactive security, I didn't want others to get the idea that I was a SOC analyst or I was an incident response consultant because those are not the services that I provided. I felt like that would be very confusing for my clients. So that stunk to have to, say no to that opportunity, but I walked away thinking, this was the right decision because I did not allow myself to be put in a position where I would compromise everything that I had worked for and that I knew about myself personally. So,
Yeah, I really love that you did that because you were gaslighting yourself there for a moment that you were saying, oh, because when you have to ruminate around the idea so much, it means that you don't really want to do it. So it's a no, it's like a clear no. But
yeah,
sometimes we gaslight ourselves, oh, but it's a great company and they pay well and this and that and this. But you already know, like, you will not be happy in that job. So it's a no. So yeah,
right,
I'm
right.
really proud of you that you did that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so is there are there any project books, activities you or initiatives you're currently excited about and you're like to share more with us?
Yeah, so I just made a post about it the other day, but I just became a member of our young professionals organization here in my local area, and so I am really excited about that because we just had a meeting yesterday to talk about the goals that we wanted to accomplish for the year, and how we wanted to do that. And between myself and the two other individuals that are on the board, we came up with a lot of really good ideas and things for scholarship funding for the high schools and trying to do, career fairs with local businesses. And so something that I'm really excited about is just being a part of, I've always been an advocate for the next generation of professionals. And so I'm excited to really like step my foot into that door and say, this is how I'm actually impacting the next generation of business professionals, entrepreneurs, even if they're in technology or not. Like, I still think that's cool because, yes, my business is about cybersecurity and, technology, but I'm still a business professional. I still own a business. And so I want to share that with people that want to be that. Maybe not everybody wants to go to school, not everybody wants to go to college. Some people want to go to trade schools and things like that. But there's still a lot to be said about those that go into the industry and have skills to thrive in business. And so that's something that's really cool that I'm excited about doing. Honestly, not too much with books right now. I'm trying to stay away from the technical books and trying to dive into some more like fiction books lately because I need kind of an escape. So I think I'm finishing Iron Flame right now from the Fourth Wing series, and I'm moving into Onyx Storm soon. And there's a couple of other like books that are on my Kindle that I need to read. But I've kind of been trying to break up work and have some like quiet peace time too, just for fun things.
Yeah, is that yeah, sorry. Is that book series good? Because I also have them like in paperback
Yeah.
and they're like waiting for me to start.
Yeah, yeah, I love them. They were so good. And I also ended up buying the entire like A Court of Thorns and Roses series on my Kindle and ended up giving my paperbacks away because I travel a lot right now. And so I needed to put everything on my Kindle that I'm reading so that I could easily just slip it in my bag. Um, so I'm definitely I would highly recommend them. And also I just and kind of into fantasy. It's just kind of books are a nice way to escape from all of the stuff we're sitting at our computers all the time and honestly just getting out of the house and finding something else to do away from your desk.
Yeah, that's cycling for me. So yeah, thank you. I think I'm doing all the things that I should be doing.
Yeah.
Okay, two last questions. What is your favorite hacker movie? And after that, what is your favorite food or dish? And yeah, we're going to wrap up.
Yeah, so it's not a hacker movie at all, but National Treasure is my favorite movie that has a hacker in it. He's just so funny, and I love that movie series in general. And I think that that's like the funniest. There are some funny, beep boop boop boops I'm in, but I like watch that movie and I love the movie in general. But then I watch like the hacking parts and I'm like, you can't really do that. That's not how this works. So, Mr. Robot is also a very good one if you're like looking for a series. I do like Remy Malik in there. So, those are probably my favorites.
Actually, I have a lot of favorite ones, but this TV show is actually Mr. Robot, and I'm really grateful that this show came out like when it did because it was kind of like a smack in the face. Oh, I really wanted to do that when I was a teenager, and then I did something else, and my life is, I don't really like my life. Oh, I should do that now, you know. So it was like
Yeah.
putting me into the right path that I am on now. And your favorite food now?
Yeah. Well, back to TV shows real quick. One that I always forget because it was on like 10, 15 years ago is so good is Person of Interest. That only ran for like 3 or 4 seasons, but that truly is like my favorite TV show, like at in its entirety. And the hacking in that is really cool and super interesting. So if anybody hasn't seen that, definitely go check that out. Um, as far as food goes, oh goodness, what is my favorite food? I love to cook, so I love to eat. And if I had to pick something, we make tikka masala pretty frequently at our house, and so that one's really good. I love just any kind of Asian food, so Thai, Indian, Chinese, Korean, all of those different things. Like I love those food, like those types of foods. Pho is a close second to that. Tikka masala is like a comfort food, and I think pho is like I get that when I'm sick all the time. So yeah, any sort of like Asian area food is one of my favorites.
I agree. Okay, so I got like, a bit dreamy there because I started to think about ramen and like sushi, and then I don't know why that thought came to potatoes and that are fried and like buttery. Oh my God. Okay, okay.
German food, they have very good potatoes.
I'm Polish, so we have like hundreds potato dishes as well. So yeah, I'm a big
Yeah,
fan. Actually, when I moved out of Poland and I lived in the Netherlands, the only thing I missed was the food because yeah, I they didn't have it like that, you know. They had good food,
yeah,
not like that, you know. So
it's not the same. It's not the same.
okay, so yeah, I'm going to wrap up now, and like wanted to thank you that you came to my podcast and told us your stories. Wanted to at the end wanted to also mention that I do have imposter syndrome, and although I'm trying really hard and I think I'm doing my best there, and I have some successes and like my path, like I'm climbing. I can feel like I'm climbing and I'm learning, but I'm still feeling like yeah, there's like still so much to learn. You know what?
You kind of recognize that there are people that think they're perfect and
Yeah, yeah.
they're not perfect. So if you have a little bit of imposter syndrome, I guess you're always just trying to improve, and we have to, I guess, give ourselves a little grace and say, I'm okay with where I'm at. Maybe we're a little too hard on ourselves sometimes, but a little bit of anxiety and nervousness around where you're at is always good, because it does mean that you care about what you're doing and the people around you and how your work affects them. So,
That's so true. Because then you want to give like the possible best out of you, to that job.
right.
So yeah, thank you again. I'm starting to be chatty at the end. So yeah, and I guess that's it. I'm going to wave now, and yeah, thanks to everyone that came to the stream and asked questions. And yeah, you can wave in.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.